Welcome to Wisdom Trek with Gramps. I am Guthrie Chamberlain, and we are on day 2658 of our trek. The purpose of Wisdom Trek is to create a legacy of wisdom, to seek out discernment and insights, and to boldly grow where few have chosen to grow before. In today's Wisdom Nugget, it's titled, The Rain Like Rain, a Compassion Unbound. It's our Wisdom Trek through Psalm chapter 72, verses 6 through 14. Today we're going to continue our majestic trek through Psalm 72 in the New Living Translation, delving deeper into its prophetic vision of an ideal king, covering verses 6 through 14. In our last trek, we began with the royal psalm, the prayer for a king, which also serves as a profound prophecy for the Messiah's righteous reign. We saw how the psalmist appealed to God to grant the king divine justice and righteousness, enabling him to rule impartially and, most importantly, to give justice to the poor. Now, as we move into this next section, the vision expands dramatically, detailing the pervasive blessings, universal dominion, and boundless compassion that characterizes an ideal king's rule. The psalm would have stirred the hearts of the ancient Israelites with hope, painting a picture of a ruler as truly aligned with God's heart, a king whose reign brings flourishing to a land and protection to the vulnerable, extending his influence far beyond Israel's borders. It points us forward to the ultimate king, Jesus Christ, who perfectly embodies every aspiration of this prayer. So let's immerse ourselves in a beautiful portrayal of a righteous king and consider its implications for the world longing for true peace and justice. Let's first read Psalm 72, verses 6 through 8. May the king rule like rain upon the mown grass, like showers that water the earth. May all the godly flourish during his reign. May there be abundant prosperity until the moon is no more. May he rule from sea to sea, and from the Euphrates rivers to the end of the earth. The psalmist begins by describing the refreshing, life-giving nature of a king's reign. May the king rule like the rain upon the mown grass, like showers that water the earth. This is a powerful and deeply significant metaphor, especially in the ancient agrarian society in the Near East, where rain is absolutely essential for life and prosperity. Imagine a field of grass, freshly mown or parched from drought. When gentle, abundant rain falls upon it, it brings immediate refreshment, new growth, and renewed vitality. The king's rule is envisioned not from a destructive flood or a harsh storm, but life-giving rain, gentle, pervasive, and beneficial. It brings refreshment to the renewal of the land for its people, fostering growth and flourishing. It signifies a rain that is benevolent, restorative, and brings true well-being to all it touches. The direct results of such a rain is flourishing. May the godly flourish during his reign. May there be abundant prosperity until the moon is no more. The godly, or the righteous, are those who align themselves with God's ways, seeking to live in integrity and obedience. Under an ideal king, their lives would thrive. This is not a partial blessing, but abundant prosperity, encompassing material well-being, spiritual vitality, and overall peace. The phrase, until the moon is no more, is a powerful expression of an unending duration, echoing the desires for an eternal reign from the earlier verses. It means his flourishing is perpetual, lasting as long as creation itself. The vision then expands from the quality of the reign to its vast geographical scope. May he rule from sea to sea, from the Euphrates rivers to the end of the earth. In the ancient Israelite mind, from sea to sea likely referred to the Mediterranean Sea in the west and perhaps the Persian Gulf or the Dead Sea in the east, encompassing the full breadth of the Promised Land and beyond. The Euphrates River is well known for its eastern boundary and of powerful empires, and also the ideal northern reach of the Israel Promised Territory, Genesis chapter 15, verse 18. To the ends of the earth signifies universal dominion stretching beyond any known geographical limits. This is a vision of an empire with unprecedented size and influence, far surpassing the actual historical reach of any Israelite king. This kind of universal domination again points prophetically to the Messiah, whose kingdom truly knows no bounds, extending to every nation and every people group on the planet. This reign is not limited to earthly borders or political power, but is destined to be a global and eternity. Now let's continue our trek with verses 9 through 14, where the psalmist describes the submission of enemies, the tribute from distant lands, and the king's profound compassion for the vulnerable. Psalm chapter 72, verses 9 through 14. Desert nomads will bow before him, and enemies will lick the dust. The kings of Tarshish and the land's distance will bring this tribute. The kings of Sheba and Seba will present him gifts. All kings will bow before him, and all nations will serve him. He will rescue the poor when they cry for help, and he will help the oppressed when they have no one else to help. He will have pity on the poor and the needy, and he will rescue them from death. He will redeem them from their oppression and violence, for their lives are precious to him. With such a vast dominion, the king's authority naturally leads to submission of his adversaries. Desert nomads will bow before him, and the enemies will lick the dust. Now, desert nomads, or dwellers in the desert, are often represented by wild, untamed people on the fringes of settled society, and they were difficult to conquer. Their bowing down signifies voluntary submission. Licking the dust is an ancient idiom for complete subjugation and humiliation. This illustrates that all opposition, even the most independent or defiant, will ultimately yield to this king's supreme authority. The submission is accompanied by a tangible tribute from a far-flung powerful regions, from the kings of Tarshish to the distant lands that will bring him tribute. The kings of Sheba and Seba will present him gifts. Tarshish was a distant seafaring region, likely in the west, perhaps Spain, known for its wealth. Sheba and Seba were kingdoms in the Arabian Peninsula and northern Africa, the modern-day Ethiopian and Sudan. It was renowned for their valuable spices, their gold, and frankincense. The mention of these specific, powerful, and distant regions, bringing tribute and gifts, emphasizes the universal recognition of this king's unparalleled greatness. They were not merely conquered, they were willingly bringing their treasures as a sign of respect and submission. This imagery further emphasizes the global reach and influence of the righteous king's reign. The psalmist then summarizes the universal recognition. All kings will bow before him, and all nations will serve him. This reiterates the ultimate vision, complete and universal acknowledgement of this king's sovereignty. Every earthly ruler will offer homage, and every nation will render service. This is the prophetic climax of a king's dominion, the world united under a just and benevolent rule. Having established the king's universal power, the psalm returns to the core of his compassionate character in verses 12 through 14, which is truly the heart of his reign. He will rescue the poor when they cry to him for help. He will help the oppressed when they have no one else to help. The king is not distant or uncaring. He actively engages in the suffering of the vulnerable. The poor and the oppressed are those who are weighed down by hardship and subjected to injustice. This king hears their cries, not just as formal petitions, but as desperate pleas, and he actively rescues and helps them, particularly when they have no one else to help. This highlights the role of the ultimate champion of the defenseless, stepping in where all human aid has failed. His compassion extends to their very being. He will have pity on the poor and the needy. He will rescue them from death. Now, pity implies a deep emotional empathy for their suffering. He not only acts on their behalf, but feels their plight, and his ultimate intervention is profound. He will rescue them from death. This can refer to literal rescue from mortal danger, but also from spiritual and existential death that can accompany extreme oppression and despair. This king brings hope and life to those on the brink. The psalmist concludes this section with a powerful summary of the king's redemptive work for the vulnerable. He will redeem them from oppression and violence, for their lives are precious to him. Now, redeem means to buy back, to liberate, to set free from bondage. He actively intervenes to free them from their crushing weight of oppression, often economic or social exploitation, and violence, physical harm, or injustice. The reason for this comprehensive, compassionate intervention is deeply moving, for their lives are precious to him. Unlike other rulers who might exploit or disregard the lives of the marginalized, this king values every life, especially those who are most vulnerable. Their well-being, their very existence hold immense worth in his eyes. Psalm chapter 72, verses 6 through 14, paints a vivid and inspiring portrait of an ideal king whose reign is characterized by refreshing blessings, universal dominion, and most profoundly, a balanced compassion that effectively defends and redeems the poor, the needy, and the oppressed. This is a glimpse of God's heart for justice and his desire for a truly benevolent rule. What profound wisdom can we draw from this section for our Wisdom Trek today? Well, firstly, true leadership, modeled by this ideal king, is about bringing refreshment and fostering flourishing, not about exploitation or self-enrichment. Our influence, whatever its sphere, should aim to be like the rain upon the mown grass, revitalizing and nurturing. Secondly, the vision of universal dominion reminds us of the global scope of God's kingdom. While we work for justice and righteousness in our immediate context, our ultimate hope is that one day all kings will bow and all nations will serve the true king. Thirdly, and perhaps most importantly, this passage calls us to cultivate a heart of profound compassion for the poor, the needy, and the oppressed. The king actively hears their cries, pities their plight, rescues them from death, and redeems them from oppression. If we are to reflect God's character, we too must value and advocate for the lives of those who are most vulnerable, recognizing that their lives are precious in God's sight. And finally, the king's power to crush their oppressors is a divine assurance that evil and injustice will not ultimately prevail. God's justice will ensure the triumph of the righteous and the vindication of the afflicted. Let us pray for leaders who embody these qualities, and let us strive to be ancients of this compassionate, life-giving reign in our own lives, reflecting the heart of the ultimate King, whose rule brings blessing, justice, and peace to all. Thank you for joining me through this powerful trek of Psalm 72, verses 6 through 14. I trust the exploration of the righteous reign and the boundless compassion has given us a new insight and encouraged our hearts today. Join me the next time when we continue to seek and apply these timeless truths of God's Word. Now, if you found this podcast insightful, please subscribe and leave us a review. Then encourage your friends and family to join us and come along with us tomorrow for another day of Wisdom Trek, creating a legacy. Thank you so much for allowing me to be your guide, your mentor, and most importantly, I am your friend as I serve you through the Wisdom Trek podcast and journal. As we take this trek of life together, let us always live abundantly, love unconditionally, listen intentionally, learn continuously, lend to others generously, lead with integrity, and leave a living legacy each day. I am Guthrie Chamberlain, reminding you to keep moving forward, enjoy your journey, and create a great day every day. See you next time for more daily wisdom.